Just a little background. About a year before our marriage, my wife and I had gotten into a huge argument. She decided to break it off with me. I was still holding hope that we would get back together. She was down on her luck at the time and a single mom of 2 children. So, even after the break, I wanted to show her commitment and help her and her children out. This was my way of letting her know that I was still in love with her. One day I was over at her house and she had left a notebook open that looked like a letter. So, I waited until she left to run an errand and read the notebook. It was a letter to a guy she had slept with not too long after she had broken it off with me. If I recall, she slept with him the day after. This hurt me more than anything. I made it known to her that I read it and explained that I thought it might have been to me. This obviously infuriated her. Also, the guy she slept with was the brother of her best friend. I continued to snoop through notebooks laying around while we were working things out. The next day after finding out that she slept with this guy, before she agreed to work things out, she was driving her children to daycare and her engine caught fire. She called me up at work to come and help her out. I was still very hurt and upset. I told her that she needed to call that other guy to come get her. She told me that he wasn't able to. I told her that it wasn't my problem. Later, while we were working things out, I found another letter to the guy she has slept with. I brought it to her attention. Again, another argument. She told me that she planted the letter in hopes of catching me snooping. Well, we worked things out and I thought I would be able to forgive and forget. We were married almost a year later. Our marriage started a little rocky because she was still going over to her best friend's house and I knew that her brother, the guy she slept with, was living there. This brought back old hurtful feelings in me and we argued about her going over there. I told her that I just knew she was going over there to see that guy. She assured me that she wasn't. I still wasn't convinced and asked her not to go over there without me anymore. Well, after another year, she had gotten a job doing marketing for a local tax preparation office. She became friends with a single male from the other office in town because they worked together in the marketing. Sometimes, they would kick off work and go back to our house just to hang out. Again, I started getting feelings that she was cheating on me. I told her about my suspicions and she got angry again about me not trusting her. Well, me and this guy became good friends and he really stopped being friends with my wife. She believes it's because I told him that I thought he was sleeping with her. I always speak my mind. He didn't take offense to it and was very cool about it. But she feels that he didn't want to be friends with her any longer because of me telling him. I wasn't accusing him. I was just trying to get it off of my chest. Her children were living with their father, and my wife wanted them to come and live with us more than anything. She was out of a job, and I was so far in debt that I ended up having to file bankruptcy. I had told her that we couldn't afford to take care of the children on what I was making and that their father wasn't having as tough a time as we were financially. She didn't care about our finances. She just wanted her children to live with her. She told me that they would be coming to live with us whether I liked it or not. I told her that it wasn't going to happen. We argued for a week over this. I told her that I didn't make enough money to support all 4 of us. Heck, I barely made enough money to support the 2 of us. She wasn't looking at things realistically. I told her that if she was going to bring them down to live, then I was leaving. I wasn't going to bring those children into a house that couldn't support them. She decided to leave and went to stay with her friend from the tax preparation office and his girlfriend. Another few months later and she decided that she was going to do everything her way and that was the way it was going to be. During our argument, this time, she destroyed our DVD shelf out of anger. She has had a habit of destroying things when she is pissed off. I bided my time and waited until the next day when she left for work. I took all of my collectible items, boxed them up, and took them to my parents' house for safekeeping. She has already proved that she is willing to destroy things. Also, she decided all on her own that her sister would be staying with us for the summer. This was another thing that caused the argument. Well, when she got home from work and found out that I had packed all of my collectibles, she called me to find out what was going on. I told her what I had done and why I had done it. I told her that I was fed up with her thinking that she ran things in our house and I was through with her. I left our house with some things and went to stay with my parents. She called me the Sunday after and wanted me to come home and talk about everything. I agreed to. We talked and it seemed like we had worked things out again. After about another year, I noticed that she was using the internet more than usual. I had known that we were having problems again. She had all of a sudden found a newfound happiness when she hadn't been happy for a while. So, I started snooping again and found that she was talking to a friend from high school. There were some questionable things in the emails back and forth between them, but it didn't seem to cross the line. I installed a keylogger screen capture program on the computer and monitored their conversations. I later found out that the guy she was talking to be a former police officer that worked with my dad. He was advised to resign his position because he had cheated on his wife. Big no-no for police code of conduct. And had ended in divorce. I was again having feelings that she was cheating on me. I told her this because she was being so secretive and her routines had changed. I also found out that she had met with this guy at her mom's house. Just her, him and their kids, so they could swim in her mom's pool. She told the kids not to say anything to me, because I would get angry. Later, while reading one of her emails, I seen that she was making plans to meet with this guy alone at her mom's pool. I told her mom about it, and she said that my wife did not ask her. So she told my wife she could not come there. So, my wife sent an email to the guy offering to meet at the local lake instead of her mom's pool. He had gotten an injury on the job and could not make it. I ended up talking to this guy through email. I explained to him that my wife and I were having problems and that I would appreciate it if he would stay out of them. I told him that I feared he and she were having an affair. I asked him how he felt when he found out that his wife cheated on him. My wife was pissed when she found out that I had emailed him. I told her to do me a favor. She agreed. I asked her to ask him why he lost his job on the police force and see if he is honest about it. He wasn't, and she told him that she knew he had to quit because of the infidelity, or risk being fired. He stopped talking to her and then she got pissed off at me. I don't really understand why. Well, she agreed to work things out based on us going to see a marriage counselor. We went to the marriage counselor for several months and it seemed like things were getting better. We had seen that our major issue was communication. She was going to these other guys to communicate her thoughts because she thought I didn't care. And, to her credit, the way that she presented them to me, I felt attacked and jumped on the defensive. So, she was right about me not caring. It seemed like she was making everything out to be my fault. The marriage counselor had seen an improvement with us and decided that we didn't need to come back. She later claimed that she didn't hear him say this, but we always attended the meetings together. There were never any separate meetings. So, feeling like we had what we needed to work things out, we went back to our life a little happier. Things had not been completely repaired, but we were willing to work at it. Or so I thought. We were both told in the marriage counseling that we would still both make mistakes, and we both have. We no longer argued all the time, but when we did, we both put up our defenses and hurt each other. Now, here we are another year later, and I just found out a few weeks ago that she took a day off from work and lied to me about it. I asked her when I got home that evening because some things were out of place. She still held to the fact that she didn't leave work early. I found out a couple of days later, from a mutual friend, that she was over at his house talking with his soon-to-be ex-wife. I confronted her with this and told her that she didn't have to lie to me about it. I wasn't going to be upset. She told me that she talked to her friend about the thoughts she had been having of leaving me. Her friend told her that the grass is not greener on the other side and that my wife needed to think long and hard before she made that decision. Her friend knew from personal experience because she left her husband and slept around. Now, she was sorry she had done it because she realized that she still loved her husband a lot. And she had messed things up. I started having feelings that she is cheating on me. I never came right out and confronted her about it. I just told her that something strange was going on. She has started using the computer more often than normal. She gets on it first thing in the morning, 5 a.m., and is on it most of the time that she is at home. I again snooped through her computer and found that she had been browsing Craigslist personals. She had replied to a few of them in our area, Los Angeles and London. She had gotten an email from a guy in Los Angeles asking to trade photos. She sent hers to him and vice versa. We have talked about the problems. Heck, I didn't even know that she was having problems until this. This all came as a shock to me. She is also looking for jobs in Los Angeles and London. She did confirm that she had thoughts of leaving me once she graduated from college and got a decent job. This is in a couple of weeks. I asked her had she made any steps towards setting up a relationship with someone else. Of course, she said no, even though I know that's a lie, according to her email. She is also keeping a journal that I have read. She has written in there things like, how do you tell someone you have been with for 9 years that you no longer love them? She also had entries that spoke of her wanting to move to London as soon as possible. She even has a plan for how and when to do it. And she has a weird crush on a movie actor that she journal about as well. She also said that I didn't understand that she wanted to feel the rush of new love again. She wants the I can't wait to see him again feelings. And she doesn't feel that she can ever feel those feelings for me again. She told me that she feels unloved and unwanted by me. So, I decided to start remedying the situation. I wrote her a long letter telling her why I loved her and wanted to stay married to her. She didn't respond. I took her out the other night to her favorite club and bought her a rose while we were there. I even started a Love Notes journal for her to read. She wrote, in her journal, that she thought the letter and the Love Notes journal were just pretty words on the page and nothing more. I admit I haven't been the perfect husband and have done things wrong. Sometimes I can be controlling. I have really worked hard at not being this way. We have to talk to each other before we spend any significant amount of money. She decided not too long ago to spend about $300 on makeup and didn't tell me about it. I found out on the monthly statement from the bank and confronted her about it. She had gotten pissed at me. I told her that I wasn't upset about the money. I was upset that she had spent so much without talking to me first. She said she didn't because she knew I would say no. I really don't want to lose my wife. I am still very much in love with her. I just wish the feeling was mutual. I asked what made her fall in love with me. She told me that I used to be more fun and funnier. We have gone now from arguing to just talking with each other. I told her that our arguments never resolve anything. I told her that at least when we talk, we seem to get through to each other better. It doesn't seem like she wants me to get through to her. I'm in a lot of emotional pain right now. I don't know why she has closed herself off so much. She had a very rough childhood and I think that might play a part in it. She came from a very broken home, but she doesn't want to admit that she has any issues. She says that all of our issues are my fault. I talked to her yesterday and told her that I still feared she was going to leave me. She wanted to know why I thought that. She was trying to get me to confess to snooping in her journal and computer. I never planned to tell her about that. I know that I am wrong for reading her journal and snooping through her email. I told her that it was a gut feeling, which it was more of a combination of reading her journal and looking at that email exchange with the guy from London. She assured me that she was not planning to leave me. She also assured me that she wasn't talking to another guy. Both are lies, and I know that the only saving grace right now is that I know she can't meet the guy, and she is still here with me. I tend to be an impatient person, so I want things to be right between us right now. I know this isn't possible. I can be a realist. I would just really like some advice on what I should do here. Divorce is not an option for me right now. Any help anyone can give would be very appreciated. When I start feeling down about our marriage, I tell her what is on my mind. Should I be doing this, or should we just work on her issues right now? Please help me. I don't want to lose her. I just fear that I might have already lost her. We don't have any children, by the way. We went to see a licensed marriage counselor for about 6 months last year. The marriage counselor told us that love is a decision. You decide to love the other person regardless of what they do. He also told us that during our arguments, which will happen from time to time, if one of us feels like it is getting too heated, then say that you want to take a break. I had the hardest time doing this. She would just continue to argue. We haven't really had a whole lot of arguments, so I wasn't able to put the advice to good use. Here recently, I've resolved myself to the fact that I am not going to argue at all. I will tell her exactly what is wrong in a calm voice. And, to her end, I will respond in a calm voice to her. Like I said in the original post, this latest set of problems came out of nowhere to me. She never even let me know that she was having problems. She says that she feels unloved and unwanted and that I make her feel that way. I bring home flowers to her when she's had a bad day to brighten her up. She finally told me that she would like to get flowers on normal days too. She says that I don't do anything to show my love for her. So, I have written her a letter and am keeping a journal of love notes for her to read. I just want her to see that I am trying. She told me that, sure, you'll try for a month or so. Then things will go back to the way they are now. I'm afraid that she has her mind made up. She has told me that she talks to these other guys because they are just willing to listen. I know that my problem is that, when I listen to her problems, I want to help her fix them. So, I offer advice or a solution. She gets aggravated with me and tells me that she didn't ask for my help. She just wants me to listen. Then, other times, when she is telling me a problem, and I just listen, she gets aggravated because I didn't offer any advice or solution. How am I supposed to tell when she wants my help or not? My major problem is that before we were married, and she broke it off when she slept with her best friend's brother, I felt betrayed and hurt that she could replace me in her bed that quickly. I still felt like she had cheated on me. She doesn't feel that way and never has because she says that we weren't together. Since that time, I have never really had any hard evidence that she has slept with another man. She has had emotional affairs, which still hurt a bit for obvious reasons. But I have never had any proof that she has had a physical affair. It's just that I know emotional affairs lead to physical affairs. I know that if she has a physical affair, I will hate her. If our relationship stays the way it is right now, we both deserve better. I just want to exhaust all possibilities. We talked about what we thought each other's love language was. I told her that my primary was physical touch and that my secondary was words of affirmation. She told me that hers was quality time. When I told her mine was physical touch, she laughed and told me that she knew I would say that because I only cared about a good time. That isn't true, and it hurt a lot to hear her say that. I even told her this, but she didn't believe me. I was put off by her comments. When I would ask her about what she saw as quality time, she told me that she shouldn't have to tell me after being together for 9 years. She also told me that if she had to tell me what they were, when I did them, they wouldn't hold the same meaning. So, I just had to wing it, and I obviously didn't and haven't done the right things. This all happened about a year ago. I guess I just need to be more attentive to her words and pick up on subtle hints. I'm not always the quickest to catch on. I always thought my wife was so much different than other women, but after reading a bit on these forums, it seems that she is really no different than another woman out there. She made a comment this morning that if it appears that her needs change, it's because she changes herself to suit me and make me happy. I told her that I never wanted or asked her to do that. I also told her that we are going to have differences, but that isn't a reason to change who we are. She says that she has changed so much that she doesn't like the person she's become. I'm ashamed that I made her feel that she had to do that to make me happy. A week later, her other problem is that I have snooped in the past and found bits and pieces of emails that looked suspicious between her and other men. Then, I would accuse her of cheating on me. I never snooped before I found a journal with an entry on the guy she slept with. When we were split up, I found this about a year before we were married, shortly after the split up. Then, every time my suspicions are fulfilled, I find myself snooping through her personal things such as email, journals, purse, looking for evidence that she is having an affair. I have never found any hard evidence that she was having an affair. Most of the emails have been a little flirty, but nothing major. I just want to know how I can give her that trust back. Things have been going better for us recently. We have been communicating without arguing. She has told me that she no longer has any thoughts of leaving me. I apologized, crying to her about making her feel like a prisoner and not making her my #1 priority. I told her to give me time to make up for that. She said she would. I told her that if our physically life were better, I would not have those jealous thoughts. She said that if her emotional needs were met, she would be more interested in sleeping together more often. So, we agreed that we would work on her emotional needs and hopefully the bedroom life will follow suit. I explained to her that bonding was not just about me. It was about the emotional connection with her. Most times it is an emotional connection for me. When we have had slept together over the past year, I must admit that it has felt like a chore and did not last more than a few minutes. I told her the reason for this was because she didn't seem into a good time with me, and I would just get on and get off literally. She felt like it was a chore too and agreed with me. I know that we can have an amazing physical life, because we did for years. Even shortly after we were married for about the first 2 years. So, we are going to work on both her emotional needs mainly and my physical needs secondary. I can live without bonding if I have to. There are other things she can do to make me feel loved. We are not cutting it out completely. We are just focusing more on her needs at the moment since she is the one that feels miserable. Other than this, the other thing that has been bothering me is that she has a crush on an actor that seems almost obsessive. She has plastered her laptop and screensavers with his pictures. She spends most of her time on the internet trying to find out every scrap of information about him. When I mention his name, her face lights up. I called her out on it and she told me that her face doesn't light up with joy. It lights up with embarrassment. I told her that her crush was a problem for me, even if the guy is unattainable, because he was taking an important place in her mind, my place. She told me that she fantasizes doing things with him, things that she wants me to do with her. She said that the fantasies are not physical in nature. I told her that they didn't have to be for me to be bothered by them. She removed the pictures from her computer and no longer browses the internet looking up any information she can find. I figure, if I meet her emotional needs, this crush will fade away. Also, she told me that she has changed so much of herself to make me happy, that she doesn't like the person she's become. I asked her why she made changes to herself that she wasn't willing to make. She told me that, because she loved me, and I got aggravated at her over something she did, she would just stop doing or being that way. I told her that I never asked her to change herself in any way. I told her that I married her for who she was. I would never ask her to change herself at all. If I had gotten aggravated in the past over something she did, there might have been other factors that I was aggravated at and she was the straw that broke the camel's back. I asked her to undo the changes she had made, so she can be happy with herself again. I told her that if I had a problem and she felt like she needed to change something about herself, she should stop and think if she is willing to make the change or ask me if I want her to. I told her there was never anything that she has ever done that has made me want to leave her unless it changes, and it would make me happier for her to be happy with herself. I also told her that I would try not to turn my anger towards her if other things are aggravating me. Lastly, and sorry for the long post, but I started bringing her home little things for no reason, stuff that makes her feel special. She initiated one night when I did this. I felt I had to tell her that I wasn't doing these things expecting things from her. She said that she didn't think that. She was just in the mood to have a good time with me that night. Also, I am keeping a journal of love notes that I leave out for her to read. I try to do this every 2 or 3 days. Then, yesterday I asked her if she wanted to write down what we felt the other person has done to make us happy and also the things they have done that upset us. She thought I meant keeping a scorecard. I told her that she writes the things that I have done and I write the things that she has done. Then we can talk about them in a week so that neither of us feels like we are the only one putting in all the effort to make this work. She agreed to do this and thought it was a great idea. When she told me that she removed the pictures from her laptop, I did tell her that she didn't have to do that to make me happy. I forgot to mention that in my original post, I told her that if she removed them, I wanted her to do it on her own terms, not mine. And you are right about the past. Also, I never thought about having the opportunity to have slept with someone else. You are right, I would have probably done the same thing if I felt it was truly over. Maybe that's where I screwed up. I didn't think of it from her perspective or put myself in her shoes. I'm sure the fling was probably just to make herself feel better about us splitting. I seem to recall her telling me at the time that she was thinking of me the entire time during sleeping with this guy. I just remembered that. At the time, it was hard to hear from her. Almost 3 years later, I found out yesterday that my wife cheated on me during the first year of our marriage, when we were having an argument and she went to stay with a friend. She slept with this friend and I had suspected they had slept together for many years of our marriage. Something just didn't seem right between the two of them. Whenever he introduced a new girlfriend to us, she was overly critical of her, to the point of sounding jealous. Whenever I would confront her about it, she would get pissed at me and tell me that I don't trust her and that nothing was going on and nothing had ever gone on between the two of them. Yesterday, we were at her mom's house for Memorial Day to go swimming. Her mom and her cousin were there and they were drinking. My wife decided to set her cousin up with this friend. They were texting back and forth. Her mom, being drunk, said that this friend had mentioned that he hoped her cousin was happy with small meat. I found this statement odd because I've never known this guy to talk like that with my wife. Well, later after we left her mom's house, I asked to hold her cell phone. She was apprehensive at first, but finally just gave it to me. I looked at the messages between her and this guy. Only one thing struck me as odd. When he sent the message about small meat, her response was, "No, you don't." So, I asked her how she knew the size of him. She said she didn't even remember sending that. I made her look at the messages again. She still maintained that she didn't remember sending it. She also still maintained they never slept together. I told her that I wanted to hold her phone again. She asked why. I told her that I was going to send a message to him from her phone asking, "Do you remember that time we slept together?" She asked why I wanted to send that message. I told her because if you haven't slept together, the response from him should be, "What the heck are you talking about?" And I would drop the subject forever and she could tell him that she sent the message to the wrong number accidentally. She insisted that I send him the message from my phone so he wasn't tricked. I told her that if she wasn't going to let me send the message, then she was going to do it. I asked her if she already knew what the response would be. That's why she didn't want the message sent. This is when she came clean. She told me that during the first year of our marriage, we had gotten into an argument and I kicked her out of the house. I don't remember kicking her out of the house. I thought it was a mutual decompress period from the argument. She went to stay with him, which was fine to me because he was a good friend at the time and I didn't fear anything would happen then. She said while she was there it just happened. I told her that she always had the choice, that situations might be right. She could have chosen not to. She said that it was a mistake that she regrets and never happened again after that, and that she was trying to just forget about it and hoped I would never find out because she never wanted to hurt me. I told her that lies are always revealed. It may be immediately or several years later, but lies are always found out. I asked her if she had slept with him after that, or with anyone else while we've been married. She said she hadn't, which at this point, I don't believe. I told her we have 3 choices. She can leave, I can leave, or I can choose to forgive her, but it would take time. I also told her that I better never hear this guy's name, see his number on her phone or phone records. I told her that I still love her, I'm just confused about what to do now. I told her that this happened for her 7 years ago, but for me it might as well have happened yesterday. She tried to sleep on the couch last night, but I told her she could sleep in the bed with me if she wanted to. This morning she was all weepy. I went about doing my normal morning ritual because I'm not ready to decide yet and I think it's too soon to decide. My nerves are just shot and I don't know what to do. This is the ultimate betrayal. My fear is that it's going to get a lot worse if I choose to forgive too. She was all weepy this morning. I don't know if it's because of remorse or because I know they at least slept together once. Did your husband lie about how many times he cheated? Did he continue to cheat after you forgave him? Or was there so much resentment that the marriage continued to get worse? I decided to find out a better way. I messaged the OM and asked him how many times he and she slept together. I told him he could either tell me in the text or in front of his commanding officer. See, here in the States a military official will get into serious trouble for adultery considering it's against the governing law of the military. They can be jailed and stripped of rank because of it. At this point he responded and told me that they slept together twice during the time she stayed at his house 7 years ago and they both felt like crap for doing it and decided to stop and never speak of it again. I would tend to believe him because he is being faced with jail time through the military. I told him that I'm not a vindictive person and there was no need for get his co-involved. I then sent a message to my wife and told her that I now know there were 2 times they slept together. She responded by saying she would pack her things this evening. I told her there was no need to, I just want honesty. It's amazing what a little cunning will get you. Knowing that they slept together twice doesn't really change anything. It just proves that she only told a half-truth. If I decide to forgive her, she will know and agree to be completely transparent about anything I ask without being upset in any way. She will also be aware that if I find a secret cell phone, email account, etc., she will leave immediately and we will get divorced. If I find any evidence that she is having an affair, we will get divorced. I'm not going to let her just walk all over me and I'm not going out to sleep with someone too just to get revenge. I wouldn't ever wish her the pain that I've been caused. After I confronted her, through text message, about having actually slept with him twice, she said she would pack her things and leave tonight after she got off of work. I'm still not sure that I want her to leave. I really don't know what I want. I need the results of a polygraph to figure it out once and for all. Update. We spoke last night after she got home from work. I asked her why she lied and told me they only slept together once. She asked me if it made it easier to find out it happened twice. I told her that at this point the truth is her friend and that if she wishes for me to decide to forgive her, she needs to be completely transparent to me. I told her that I scheduled a polygraph for Friday after work and that she will submit to it. I told her that if she is caught in any lies, she's gone. She said she had no problem with taking the polygraph. I guess this may be a good sign that she is telling the truth. I know she could be lying and cave the night before and spill the truth. Either way, by Friday afternoon I will have all the answers I need to determine whether I can even start to entertain the thought of forgiveness. She asked me what I wanted to do. I told her that in the emotional state I am in right now, anger, she really doesn't want my decision. She asked what the decision would be and I told her that if she wanted a decision then it would be for her to pack her things and leave for good. After I confronted her about her lie yesterday, she said she was going to pack her things and leave when she got off of work. This was a ploy, just as someone earlier had stated. She continued to tell me that she was in a lot of pain over what she had done and she never wanted to hurt me. I told her that she had no right to try to compare her pain and suffering to mine. She committed the ultimate betrayal and all the times I might have been a jerk, put together, would not come close to the first time they slept together, let alone the second time as well. I also told her she was a hypocrite for accusing me of ever having had an affair on her. She had done this twice, after the affair. I guess it's true that people that have affairs tend to accuse the other spouse of having one as well. I came close twice but pulled myself out of it. She already knew about both times because I don't carry guilt around very well. I told her shame on her for coming down on me when I accused her of cheating on me with this man several times during our marriage and making me feel like a jerk for not trusting her. I told her that keeping him around after the affair, even as nothing was still going on, was a slap in the face to me. I told her I wasn't too sure that they didn't have the affair the entire time we were married. I said that we would find out Friday from the polygraph. She still maintained that those were the only times and said she couldn't wait to prove it to me Friday. We have already sent a NC to the OM. I made sure that she knew what she was signing and what it meant if any of the terms of the NC were broken by her. And anyway, she said that she understood. I told her that if he tried to contact her in any way, she was to tell me immediately. I also told her that if I find out they had contact in any way, and I wasn't made fully aware of it, she was gone for good. She said this morning that she no longer wanted to use the cell phone that was in my name because she didn't want me to continue monitoring her phone. I told her she had two options: either continue to use that cell phone or have no cell phone at all. I told her that if I found out about another cell phone of any kind, secret or even if she told me about it, she would be gone. I told her I have every right to look at the call and text message logs now and that if I looked at her phone and noticed that a message or call was deleted that was on the log, she was gone. I'm pretty sure it was an LTA, even if by some chance there weren't any more physical indiscretions. There was definitely an emotional affair going on through the years, or there wouldn't have been that slight hint of jealousy in her voice when he introduced us to a new girlfriend. The emotional affair is just as bad if not worse than the physical affair, although it was probably a full-on affair for our entire marriage. If I find out this is the case from the polygraph, my decision is made and final and I will go directly to a divorce attorney on Monday. Update. I figure it's been a few days since I last updated everyone on what has been going on. Well, last Wednesday I had my first session of IC with the marriage counselor. I explained everything that had happened with the affair and explained our entire lives together. It took about 2 hours. I told him that I couldn't explain why I was so physically pleased, and he told me that it was called hysterical bonding and explained why it was probably happening. He told me that it was probably a subconscious act of trying to reclaim what belongs to me, like my wife. I told him that the entire purpose of me being there was to figure out if my wife and I could reconcile our marriage. He said he would help me figure that out for myself. At the end of the session, he recommended a couple of books for me to read: Love and Respect, Wild at Heart, and The 5 Love Languages. He gave me copies of the books and said that they would help regardless of whether I chose to reconcile or not. He then said that he wanted to continue meeting on an individual basis for at least the next month, and then he would evaluate whether we needed to meet as a couple. We really didn't go too much into what we discussed in our individual sessions, as they are private for right now. I know we will need to discuss them at some point when we meet as a couple. My wife found out there was a workbook for Love and Respect, went to the store, and bought a copy for herself. When I found out, I told her that I would also like a copy of the workbook, so we bought one for me as well. So, I see a certain level of commitment from her on our marriage and helping me deal with the affair. Well, Friday I had a bad day, full of triggers and angry, hurtful thoughts. It really was a bad day and probably the worst so far for me. I just had a deep feeling of loss and hopelessness. I tried to force myself off of thoughts of the A, but they just kept coming. Let me preface this with, my wife got a new phone upgrade on our account and hasn't really figured it out yet. I sent her a text message in the afternoon, being a little flirtatious because she told me earlier in the day that she had bought me a surprise for when I got home. Well, for the past week we have had fun every evening. So, I sent a text message about the surprise. I figured doing this might help get my mind off of the affair. I didn't receive a response, so I sent a disappointed text, and when that was unanswered, I sent a third text. At this point I'm started to get pissed that she's not answering me in any way. I got home and was still in a major funk over the day and her not answering my texts. About 10 seconds before I walk in the door, I receive a reply from her apologizing for not replying to me. I went into the house in a very bad mood. She had bought me a surprise and I wasn't in the right state of mind, so I didn't receive it very graciously. She could tell that I was in a bad mood very quickly and asked if she had done anything wrong. The first couple of times she asked, I told her no. Then when she asked yet again, I finally told her. I wasn't upset because of the text. I was upset because of being trapped in my own head with thoughts of the affair. I broke down and started sobbing. I asked her why she had done this to me. I asked her what I had done so terribly wrong, that I deserved this. She said I didn't do anything and that none of this was my fault. She started crying as well at this point. I told her that she treated my heart as a play toy, that she was just bored of and tossed to the side. I told her that my heart is broken into a million pieces and that she was responsible for it. She said she knew how it felt to have your heart broken so completely, when she had to give custody of her kids to their father. I asked her, then why would you do that to me? I had given you myself completely. I had given you all of my heart and everything that I am. I asked her why she never saw that, and if she did, why she chose to ignore it. She said she didn't know why. All she knew was that, because of how her mother treated her as a child, she figured nobody could love her if her own mother didn't. She felt like life was just too good to be true and that I was going to get rid of her as soon as I could. She said this was the reason she had and had at other times sought emotional comfort from men other than me. She said she was just on a self-destructive cycle and had broken free of it about 3 years ago and had accepted that I wasn't just going to throw her away like her mother did when she was growing up. She said she never wanted me to find out about the affair after she had chosen to keep it a secret and that she didn't have another affair afterwards. She had come close but had pulled herself back because she didn't want to do that to me again. She said she kept the other man in our lives as a friend so that I wouldn't suspect anything had ever happened. She said that it was the second most ignorant mistake she had ever made, after the affair. She said she felt like she couldn't come to me about her feelings or concerns and that's why she spoke to other male friends. I told her that those were A's as well, just emotional affairs and not physical affairs. I told her that those were bad too because she was connecting with these other men on an emotional level. She said that she hadn't thought of those being A's as well, but that didn't matter. It was about how I perceived it. She begged and pleaded that I believe her that she would never have an on me again. We continued to talk for what seemed like hours. I told her that I knew marriages have peaks and valleys and that our marriage had basically been on massive valley since her affair, even though I didn't have proof of the affair. I told her that in order for this marriage to survive this, I have to know there are going to be more peaks than valleys and believe she's committed to me and our marriage. I told her that I'm not stupid enough to think there aren't going to be arguments, but that there's no reason we can't turn our marriage around and make it more than it ever was. All it takes is commitment and effort from the both of us. Our marriage will be what we make it to be. If either of us feels that the other is not putting any effort in, then it's up to us to say something about it to each other. I then decided to address her self-esteem issues. I told her that there is no reason to be ashamed of her body during bonding. I told her that I didn't know who sold her on her not having a good-looking body, that it just wasn't true. I told her that what she sees as her physical imperfections were not imperfections to me. They made her unique and beautiful in a way unlike any other woman. I told her that when we made love, her body was the most perfect thing in the world to me, and that's all that should matter. I also told her that she has a very loving and sweet personality and she was generally a good person. She said, but I had the affair. I told her that we all make mistakes and it's not about making the mistake as much as learning from that mistake and never letting it happen again. I told her she should have more respect for herself, that she's a strong, beautiful, intelligent, and loving person. The conversation started out from my hurt and anger, then turned to a very constructive conversation about what needs to be done to reconcile our marriage. She showed me that her heart is broken for what she had done to me. I really do feel she's remorseful for what she had done. She seems to believe what she's saying about never having it again and wanting to be with me if I'll continue to have her. I've known my wife for over 11 years and can tell when she's being completely honest and whether she's hiding something. This is why I always accused her of an affair with the other man, even though I didn't have concrete proof. So, I see the honesty in her eyes and she's very sorrowful for what she had done to me. After our conversation, we made love and it was another great love-making session. We've never had such passion in our relationship. It's sad to say, but maybe the will turn out to be the best thing that ever happened to us. I know that sounds ignorant, and I feel ignorant for saying it. Saturday, we decided to go and have breakfast together at Golden Corral. Her mother called before we left the house and asked to join us for breakfast and to take my wife shopping afterwards. So, we met her there. Now, her mother's husband is in prison because he was convicted of my wife's youngest sister. Here's a little backstory on this. The sister came home from school one day and asked her mom what her mom would do if she ever got suspended from school. Her mom told her the worst punishment she had ever had. Well, the next day she told her mom that her mom's husband had her. Then, we all come to find out that the sister had been suspended from school for being caught smoking. Also, a topic on discussion in one of her classes was about another local man that had been arrested for X. So, the sister deflected the blame onto her mom's husband. Thus he went to jail. He was released on bond. The sister had to go live with her biological father. And her mom's husband went back home to her mom. Everyone knew that the sister was lying just to get out of trouble for being suspended. She even told one of her cousins this. Her mom's husband is a very good man, with 3 children of his own from a previous marriage. He isn't the type of person to have done what he was accused of. Well, the police had collected samples from the laundry basket in their house and found traces of semen on the sister's clothing, which probably got there from a towel that her mom and mom's husband had used. That traces of semen were also found on in the laundry. So, they used this against him, and almost a year later he was convicted because of a piss-poor lawyer he had and has to serve 12 years in prison. So, after that long backstory, here's what happened at breakfast Saturday morning. We all start talking about my wife's youngest sister, who is pregnant and also cheating on her fiancé who is out of the country for 3 months. Her mom is condemning the sister over the affair. Then, her mom starts talking about a guy she reconnected with and is having an affair with after 20 years apart. While her husband sits in prison, she's all smiles and everything. This was obviously a trigger for me. Now my wife's mom is not aware of my wife's affair, as far as I know, or at least not aware that I have knowledge of it, or she wouldn't be talking about her affair. I looked at her mom and asked what she was going to do when her husband got out of prison. She said that life was just going to go back to normal. I said, so you're going to have an affair for another 7 years, and then you expect your life is just going to go back to normal? She said yes. I just kind of snorted a sarcastic laugh. When my mother-in-law got up to go get more food, I looked at my wife and told her that I had had just about enough of her mother and her hypocritical ways for the day, and that I was just going to leave before I said anything really damaging. My wife said she understood and she apologized for her mother. Later that evening, we went to go see Pirates of the Caribbean and sat snuggled together, holding hands in the theater. Afterwards, we went for ice cream and shared a brownie fudge sundae. On Sunday, we went to church, came home and spent the entire day at home just enjoying each other's company. Not much else to say other than that. She did say at one point in the weekend that she knows we are meant to be together because she had tried to leave me before our marriage and a few times after our marriage, and she could never seem to follow through with it. She says that she feels God put us together and that she gave up fighting against it 3 years ago. She stated, "You complete me," and gave a slight chuckle. I told her that I already knew that we were meant to be together. I was just waiting on her to realize it too. But, if she did ever have another affair, I wouldn't even consider forgiveness. The marriage would be over. I have a small hope that we can get through this. But again, only time will tell. My comment: what do you think about this marriage repair story? Only OP can tell if his wife shows remorse or not. Have you seen any successful rebuild examples around you? Sub and Bell and I are preparing a good series, coming really soon.